First of all, I want to say I am so thankful for everyone who subscribed. I really didn't think I would have this many subscribers in such a short time with just 3 videos and so many cute suggestions and comments. I'm very thankful, and I just wanted to say that real quick. The second thing I wanted to say is that I want to post here more frequently. I'm trying to post at least once or twice, and the next 2 weeks I will not be able to post since I'm at a wedding. But after that, I am going to also post more roleplay related things, and I have planned some things, and I hope that you guys are as excited as I am. But without further ado, now let's get into the stories. I have to warn you, however, they're not spooky stories, well, not paranormal stories today, but dating horror stories, so also very scary. Okay, let's get into it. The first story is called A Facebook Dating Horror Story. So, I have a friend who is in her late 30s and an elementary school teacher. She had broken up with her boyfriend and went on a Facebook dating to get back out there. Big mistake. She met this man who owned a bed and breakfast in the middle of nowhere in the NC Mountains. For reference, me and my friend are both from NC, 4 hours away from the mountains in our state, and he offered her a free weekend stay to get to know one another, and even let her bring her dog with her. That's always a good sign, though. He did ask her for a credit card on file, which I thought was weird considering he said it was a free stay. Anywho, she got on there at Friday evening, and they had dinner and got to know each other. He was saying she should invite a couple of her friends up there too. Things went south very quickly. That Saturday he moved on her too aggressively, calling her babe and baby. Mind you, she has known this guy for less than 24 hours. She kept trying to get me to drive up there and hang out with them. I did not think it was a good idea at all, after she refused to consent to some things, if you know what I mean. He went ballistic and went on this rampage, destroying one of the rooms, ripping pillows apart and turning furniture over. He then yelled out, "I am charging a $500 damage fee to your card on file." He abruptly left the room, all because she didn't want to consent to things she was not comfortable doing. Mind you, it was snowing in the mountains pretty hard too, and she was texting me trying to get me to drive up there and rescue her. I was terrified. In the middle of the night that evening she left, escaping at 1 a.m. with the dog in tow, and when she arrived back home early that Sunday morning, filed a police report against the man. A few months later he was arrested for an unrelated charge. Let this serve you as a lesson not to meet random people from online in the rural mountains at a sketchy hotel. Yeah, I think that's an actual pretty good lesson. I don't know. This is kind of scary when people seem to be someone else and then they just turn out to be complete lunatics. So this happened a few days ago, and it was so freaking weird that I figured I would post it here and see what everyone thinks. I have been on a few dates with this one guy, and to be honest, he seemed normal enough. In brackets, I didn't get any weird vibes. He invited me over to his place for dinner, and I felt comfortable enough to accept the invitation. As we are sitting at his kitchen table, someone starts pounding on his door, and he tells me to ignore it. A few minutes later, this chick barges right into his place and starts yelling and screaming at him, accusing him of cheating on her and how she cleaned his entire apartment yesterday. She told me that she doesn't blame me for being there with him, and I was just gobsmacked. So I just stood there as they screamed at each other, and eventually got her to leave. He told me she was his stalker and that he has a restraining order against her. At this point, I don't really care if it's true or not, because I wasn't going to stick around to find out if either she was not or if he was a cheater. I had to sneak out of my car and make sure she didn't follow me home. It was one of the most uncomfortable experiences I've ever had, and I'm just glad I don't have to deal with either one of them ever again. It has 3 exclamation marks, and at the end it says, "Has anyone else had a horrible experience like that?" So this is not particularly scary. Well, it could be scary considering she is being accused of being a stalker. Stalkers are no joke and very scary. So yeah, I guess it's good that she cut the ties right there. How about you guys? Did you have any horror story like that dating, or I would be very interested in knowing. Maybe we could also do a little listener stories thing. I would love that so much, also with the spooky paranormal stories. The next story is a bit longer. It is called "I Couldn't Say No. I Thought It Would Be the Last Night of My Life." Sounds terrifying. I'm 28 now, but this story happened when I was 18, and honestly, looking back, I was really lucky. Context: at the time, I was a student in Grenoble, and I lived in a university residence. An important thing to know is that my window overlooked a small visitor parking lot, just in front of the entrance of the residence. To enter the enclosure, you needed a badge and passed an automatic barrier. Another essential thing: at that moment, I had a hard time saying no. I was the type to say yes just to avoid conflicts, to not upset anyone, even when I didn't want to. Add to that a good dose of naivety and a tendency to believe that everyone is benevolent. In short, I wasn't the most suspicious girl in the world. And like many, I was on a dating app where I had matched with a few guys without necessarily following through. Now the story. One evening in November, it must have been around 11 p.m. I was in bed, in my pajamas, ready to sleep, when a horn sounded. Once, twice, then again and again. At first, I don't really get it. I told myself that maybe it's a guy who's waiting for someone and is getting impatient, but it continued, an unbearable, hyper insistent noise, and then I hear a voice scream his hands around his mouth to carry his voice even further. At the moment, I was super confused. Who was that guy? Why does he call my name? I pick up my phone and saw a notification of one of my matches on the dating app. And then I realized he spammed me with messages, something like, "I'm downstairs, come see me, I finished the job." I told myself I could pass. And there I tilt. This guy who I barely know is outside my house in the middle of the night, honking his horn and shouting my name. And the worst part is that, like a moron, I told him in which residence I lived. At this point, I panic a little, but I tell myself that I will just ignore it, and that he will eventually leave. Except no, he insists. He honks again, and he continues to write. He refuses to give up, and this is where I made a huge mistake. I realized that my first name is posted on my front door, like those of all other residents. And in my head I'm like, damn, my neighbors must be freaking out. Everyone knows it's me he's calling. And they're going to hate me. I'm so afraid of disturbing that I tell myself that I have to go downstairs just to tell him to leave and avoid alienating my neighbors. I'm so drunk that I go downstairs in my pajamas, just with my winter jacket on top. Not done, not made up, not awake. My goal is for him to realize straight away that I'm not here to discuss and for him to leave. But when I arrived in the parking lot, I immediately felt that I had made a huge mistake. First of all, he doesn't look at all like his photos. He's smaller and than I imagined, but super sturdy. He has an unkept beard, dirty hands and overalls, covered in white paint, and his car, an old Peugeot 205 utility vehicle without a rear seat. I look at it quickly, and even if I don't yet see what's behind it, I don't feel it at all. He smiles at me directly and suggests that I go upstairs to be warm. Everything in me screams no, but I'm stuck. I tell myself that he will insist even more if I refuse, so like a fool, I say okay, but not for long. The worst date of my life begins. I go up and then instantly regret it. Already the smell. It smells musty, dirty. I look around and I see empty water bottles crushed on the ground, cake wrappers everywhere. It's filthy. Then my eyes land on the back. Tarpaulins, hammers, screwdrivers, ropes, buckets of paint. I keep telling myself that it's probably just a guy who works in construction, and that's normal, but in context, I'm starting to panic. So I'm a bit confused because first it says that she goes upstairs, but it seems like they got into the car. So they're in the car now, just for context. He turns on the radio, puts on his seatbelt and starts up and says, "I love riding at night. It relaxes me." I'm frozen. He suggests taking a tour of the neighborhood, and I don't know why my body is giving up on me. I can no longer move, no longer speak. Without clearly realizing it, I let him do it. At first, he walks around the residence. I think she means drives around the residence, and I tell myself that it's okay. But after a while, he changes direction. Street lamps are becoming rarer. Then there are none at all. We are sinking into a zone where there is nothing. And then I realize that we are in an industrial zone. Buildings under construction, stationary cranes, construction equipment left there in the dark. It's a horror movie setting. I start to hyperventilate. My brain throws my worst possible scenarios at me. He's going to kill me. He's going to cut me up with his tools. He's going to bury me under a concrete slab. No one would ever find me. I try to think quickly. I take my phone and send a discreet message to my best friend. If you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, call the police. Old 205 utility vehicle. Short and strong, sturdy guy, dirty beard, overalls. I try to be natural. I just say as he responds when he speaks, but he ends up giving me a sideways look and saying, "You're completely white. What's wrong?" And there I don't know where I get the courage from, but I look him straight in the eyes and I blurt out, "I want to go home. You bring me back now." He stares at me surprised. A few seconds pass. They seem endless to me. Then he finally obeyed. The return journey seems to take forever. As soon as we arrive in front of the residence, I break away and run away. I enter my building without looking back and go up to my best friend's house, who lives right above me. I open the door and still in shock, and she grabs me by the shoulders, shouting, "But are you stupid or what? Children are told to never ride with strangers." Yeah, I was stupid, but the worst part of it all is that the next morning I receive a message. "I loved this evening. Can't wait to see you again." And then she put in brackets, "Really? The guy didn't realize there was a problem. I still ran away." So this story has the potential to be super scary, but I don't know, I just kind of feel like, I'm not sure, but he's not giving me serial killer vibes, especially because he texts again, or maybe he exactly is because he texts again, I'm not sure, but either way, not a good date, not a good date. Suggestion, and like creepy behavior to be honking at 11 p.m. at random people you have never met before. 10 out of 10, this reminded me of my younger self that was too naive and too scared and always wanted to keep the peace and say yes just to not piss off anyone, but wouldn't be me today. Never ever, like, I would have called the police upon his ass. So these stories were a little bit more light, not super scary, but real life scary dating stories that could happen to all of us. And yeah, tell me maybe one of your scary or spooky or horrifying dating stories, or even just a funny one. And yeah, I hope you could relax and fall asleep, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. Please, if you liked what you just listened to and saw, hit the subscribe button, like, share, you know the drill. It means a lot to me, and thank you all for watching.